Hello, welcome back to the Heated Library podcast. This is our third episode, and we're very excited. We've gotten some really good feedback and support on the first episode. The second episode is going to air tomorrow as we're recording this. So, we're just going to keep improving, I think, as we go. So stick with us. And if you have made it this far, we love you. I think that this episode, we're going to skip the icebreaker question because we just have all so much to say. In fact, we're splitting this into two parts. There's four of us here right now, and then a few of us will record later and we'll stitch it all together so you can get all of our great insights. But this week, we're going to talk about the much discussed reasons as to why this show has become such a cultural phenomenon. And I think we all can acknowledge that, like, there's a lot of reasons for that. Whenever something is like very culturally resonant like this and has such a big impact, it's usually not one reason, right? It's many. But I think that that's why it's so cool that there's seven of us doing this, because we can all talk about maybe why personally we feel that way or why we feel that way about the larger world. So I think that we want to start with Alessandra because she has some very
Hey.
interesting thoughts. And
Yeah.
yeah, go take it away.
And also because I've not been on a podcast episode before. So hello.
Welcome. Hello, darling.
Welcome.
I'm
This is
very excited.
our seventh person.
That's me. Thank you. I think this was really interesting to me because I more so than thinking about why it impacted me personally, I kind of thought it about it in a bit more of a broader way. So why kind of it had a strong impact culturally within the queer community, but also kind of within society in general and people who consume content. So I kind of had a few different thoughts, and some of them I'm just going to ramble and you can like stop me and interject and say some stuff, and it would be nice to have like a bit of a conversation. I know that a lot, as some of you guys were going to mention, kind of the impact of Hudson and Connor as people, or kind of like the way that they are behaving as actors, but so I agree with that, but I'm not going to go into that specifically because I know that you guys are going to talk about that. um so I think, first of all, what I liked and what kind of was enticing to me even before I started watching it is the fact that there are um it's kind of a depiction of queer young adults in an environment that is not overused and it's not like cliche. So it's not a school. We like stop making like 30-year-olds pretend they're teenagers. That's like just cringe.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and like it kind of takes away the reality of being able to relate to these people, because obviously like we're not in high school anymore, and there's lots of media that caters to high school students and like teenagers, and that's fine, but that's not necessarily a widespread experience within millennials, I guess. um and also, this was not a kind of social justice context. I think it's not like an environment where people are going to protest or people are going to kind of, you know, rebel against society and kind of to shape their, like, I suppose, queer identity as kind of something that they have to fight for in a more like societal broader way. And I quite like that
Yeah.
because it's nice to see that in media, and I think that's very important. But sometimes you just need to relax a bit and like watch gay people exist. And I think that was quite interesting, especially because I didn't know about Alki at all. So it was just like, oh,
Still
I don't
don't
know what I'm
really know.
watching.
Yeah,
Yeah,
still
exactly.
don't.
And also, it kind of that what links into that is also the fact that it shows kind of very clearly that being part of the LGBT community is not just it's something that exists within your identity, and but it's not just the whole of it, it's just a part of it. But you're also, as an individual, allowed to be associated with other things that make you who you are, and that is how much you value your career, traits of your personality that are not necessarily linked to you being a queer person. And I think sometimes in media, when there's, in I suppose mainstream media, when there's someone who is, I don't know, gay or bisexual or trans, that part of them is a lot more emphasized as opposed to the rest of the things that make them who they are. It's kind of a very strong plot point that sometimes impacts the character in the sense that not a lot of other things are developed within that character. Um, but real people, yeah, maybe they're gay, but like that's not their main personality trait probably. And it's nice here to see like how the their individuality, and even in terms of how the characters are portrayed by the actors that we were saying, like Connor and Hudson did really good job in kind of looking at how multifaceted Shane and Ilya are as individuals. And I quite like that because it adds a bit more nuance to the to showing people what the queer experience is like if they're not familiar with it. Um, and then I had I mean, if you guys are, have any opinions or like thoughts on this, please kind of,
No, I
interact,
can
feel free to interact.
I completely agree with you. You see queer characters, their identifier, or it feels like they're prefaced by their sexuality or their gender. And it's just, it shouldn't be that way. It's not just because you're gay, bi, trans, pan, whatever you are, it shouldn't be the main identifier of yourself. It's like you said, it's a part of who you are, but it's not your entire being. But I feel
Yeah.
like today's culture, it makes it your identifier.
Well, and I love what you
Yeah.
said about it not being like educational. Like, I do think that there was a place for that. We've come a long way, in sort of a more rapid time with media in the past, like 10 or 20 years with gay representation. But like, we don't always need a lesson. I don't always want it to be such a struggle. Like, it's just like you said, it's just nice to relax with some people who are genuine and lovely, and they happen to be gay.
Yeah.
And that's,
Exactly. No,
yeah.
absolutely. And it's like, oh yeah, my friends, I relax with my friends on the couch. Some of them are gay. Yeah, that's fine. Like it's not some doesn't have to be um a struggle. And this is also something that I was thinking about in terms of what makes it so impactful on a cultural level, because you do see queer people just being happy and just queer joy, happy feelings. Obviously the struggles are there because everyone struggles, and even if your family is supportive, even if you have a context that's sort of welcoming, you're still going to struggle with things about your identity, whether that's being part of the LGBT community or just finding out things about yourself that maybe you weren't quite sure about before. But I think, as Hudson said, this show shows really that there's always your village that you can find, and I think it's kind of refreshing in that sense because it is optimistic, but also it's realistic. I think, frankly, it's more realistic to today's human experience as the queer community, because more than ever before, I feel like today there are people out there that are ready to kind of be your family if the people around you right now are not supportive of you. And I think people that haven't had the opportunity to experience this, who haven't found that group of people yet, I think it's important that they learn about this. So if we are going to take something educational out of the show, is that the experience of being part of the LGBT community does not have to equal intense struggle and loneliness forever. And I think
Yeah.
that is something that we kind of need to see on a more day-to-day basis, on a more like relaxed kind of sense, because realistically it's true. And we I think we just need some more people to talk about it, because in reality, maybe your family is hard to deal with, and maybe the people around you are hard to deal with in some situations, but the reality is that there is a support system that you can find, and I think I like that this really showcases that. And then there's also the fact that in terms of the cultural impact that it had, it kind of made more people more vocal about being part of that support system for someone or for anyone else. So that kind of, I suppose, kickstarted I guess, a drive for people to be there for someone if needed. So
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I
that's
love
really
I think
nice.
that's quite nice, because when I was, I guess like 15 years ago, when I was trying to figure out if I was gay, everything I saw was like, oh yeah, people going to protests, or like people dying, or heartbreaking stories about people not being able to be together. And yeah, these people had friends sometimes, but their story was always sad. And this is kind of showing me that it doesn't have to be sad, but also that people who enjoy this type of media will probably be willing to be your support system.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you can kind of vibe check people in a way as
Yeah.
well in real
Find your
life.
community in the fans. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What you said reminds me, it really makes me think of Call Me by Your Name, because I think that
Yeah.
was like a very big cultural phenomenon as well when that
Yeah.
happened. And there was a lot of queer joy, but it also did end in that same, not no one died, but like the relationship died, right? And
Yeah.
it ended in tears and in devastation. And I think, yeah, it's just, I kind of didn't even know that we could have something so beautiful until Jacob Tierney came along and said, wait, we can do this. Um, and I think, like, speaking
Yeah.
of Timothy Chalamet, if you don't mind, if I kind of
Oh
go
yeah,
into
absolutely.
my
Go
Sure.
ahead.
reasons a little bit, it's just a good segue. But I feel like Hollywood has been very uninterested in taking risks for a long time, and the fact that Jacob was, I'm going to cast fresh talent and actually introduce these men to you, and they are perfectly suited for these roles. I think that has been such a big reason as well. Like, we're kind of sick of seeing Timothy Chalamet cast in every
Yeah.
single
Oh my
thing and
God.
shoved down our
Thank
throat. Like,
you.
he was a good actor, he's a good actor, whatever. I think that, it's been like 10 years now of like, we're going to just put him in everything and hope that that is like some sort of insurance policy for us to make our money back or something. And I think
You
that,
know
like,
that
as
meme? Society has progressed past the need for Timothy Chalamet.
I didn't know that one. That's really
I've
funny.
seen that.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen it. I thought our FYPs were the same. But
They will
yeah,
be.
they will be by the end of this podcast.
Yeah.
What are you talking? This isn't ending. There's no end, but by the middle. So yeah, I think that's a big reason. But then, and I have a lot of
Yeah.
other reasons, but I don't know if we want to kind of go round
I have
robin or
like I think like I want to say something that also is related to Timothy Chalamet in a way before we get on to like kind of talking about things. I do have some other thoughts, but I'm aware that it's been 15 minutes of me just talking. I have one last thing that I kind of was thinking about. There's someone online years ago, like 2021, wrote an essay that's titled "Everyone is Beautiful and No One is Horny." Um, and I think that with with Heated Rivalry, I think we broke the curse of everyone being beautiful and but no one being horny. Because the essay talked about how everyone is so shiny and plasticky and beautiful to look at, but there's no real sense of um
passion.
horniness or like or passion or just a sense of yearning, a sense of sexuality, um kind of in a real sense in all of Hollywood. And I feel like it kind of really depicted, what was missing and why maybe a lot of people or a lot of sort of surveys and things like that said, Gen Z is not really like interested in sex because everyone just was kind of engaging in sex on screen or in sexual behaviors on screen in a way that was just kind of um looking at a plastic way of having sex or like a something wrapped in cling film and put on a cushion and you look at it and it didn't feel real enough that people could actually connect to it or just didn't even feel like something that was central to the story because it was so non-consequential that
Yeah.
was just kind of there that people started thinking, well, do we actually need sex in stories? But yeah, the reality is that, in life, sex is very prevalent in a lot of people's lives. And, I think it would be a shame to not use it as something that conveys emotion, as something that conveys parts of the plot. Um, or that, means something to the characters and are is part of their personal development. And this is what Heated Reverie does. It uses sex in a way that is functional to the story and that helps you learn about the characters and their behaviors and their dynamics and their thoughts. And also, these actors are very hot, as a lot of people in Hollywood that pretend to have sex on screen are very hot, but they are raw. They're like actually acting as if they are people that are horny and having sex and really enjoying it.
It's an
So
authentic
I think that
intimacy.
is exactly like that doesn't create a barrier between the viewer and the actor because nobody looks very good having sex potentially like you
Yeah.
can be attracted to someone when they're making faces and like they're all sweaty and whatever but like they don't look beautiful as you would imagine someone in Hollywood just on a red carpet look like. And I feel like actors needed to break away from that feeling of needing to look perfect while acting in these scenes, because that creates a barrier to people being able to relate to that, and to people being able to be, okay, I see why this scene is here. It just most of the time it just made people uncomfortable, because they were like, well, it's clearly fake. I don't know what this is helping with. I would rather just go on with the plot. But here, the actors really committed to making it feel true and real,
Yeah.
and that became a really important part of the story, and how you learn about their personalities and their thoughts. And I think this is also really, props to Hudson and Connor for not taking themselves too seriously in this, in being like, okay, I need to look perfect, because that is kind of that that is a shift, and it does show me that they're very committed to their craft, and to make it look believable and realistic and real, and to create a level of connection with the audience that sometimes people are afraid to create, because then it kind of, maybe they think about themselves too much, instead of embodying the character that they're playing. So
Yeah.
yeah, props to the person who wrote that article, because I've been thinking about it for like 5 years.
We should come
Can
up
you
with their
send me
name.
that article?
Yeah,
AJ
yeah,
should look it up.
absolutely.
Thanks.
We
I'll
should
send it
give
in the
them a
chat
shout out.
actually.
We should give them a shout out by name. Um,
Absolutely. Let me just grab it. Thank you very much, RS Benedict. You have been a very important figure in my life. But I was looking at media and thinking, oh, everyone's horny. No, nobody's horny. Everyone's just hot and like looking like Kendalls. But now we have we have heated rivalry, baby.
My big-headed boyfriend.
well, I have a lot of reasons I could go, but does someone else want to start and we'll see where
I
the
could go.
segues take us? Go ahead,
I
Ellie.
can go because mine won't take very long. I've written notes, so if it sounds scripted, I apologise, but my brain can't keep track of that many things at once.
Go
It's
ahead.
already thinking of six different things. So,
Honestly, you do that. Who
so
cares?
the first thing for me is, so I read a lot of. I'm a big romance reader. It's probably the most prevalent genre that I read. And a lot of the times, whether that's contemporary or like romanticy, it's mainly I read queer romance, I read straight romance, but most of the time it's depicted between a straight man and a straight woman. And I think Hudson and Connor both said this in an interview. I can't remember. I was watching them this morning, but they made a point of saying that like it feels like a woman can be pigeonholed into a certain character that they're supposed to relate to. And
Mm.
I do get that. You've got like the tropes like the black cat and or like, grumpy sunshine or golden retriever. I'm not any of those people. I can be happy, I can be sad, I can be anything. I don't just have one thing that characterizes me. And I feel like when I'm reading romance, it can be really hard to find myself in a character. And I mean, as I'll mention later, I'm a lover girl. I want love. I want the intimacy and everything. And it's really hard to find that in a book that I'm reading where I don't relate to anyone. And I think that's why with the book and the show, I find parts of myself in both Ilya and Shane. And it makes it easier for me to relate. I'm not a queer man, and I'm not going to claim to be. Um, but I find characteristics in both of them that makes me feel comfortable and it makes me feel seen in a book or a show. And I think that for me was like the biggest thing coming outside of just reading these books or seeing these shows or even I watched a film yesterday called My Best Friend's Wedding and I was just like, I don't know if anyone's watched it, but Julia Roberts plays the main character and she's just a horrific person. I don't I don't want to relate. Not Julia Roberts, love Julia Roberts, the character. She was just a horrific character, and it's just I'm not aiming to ruin my best friend's wedding because after I'm not going to go off on a tangent. See, this is what I mean. This is what notes are for. But yeah, that's one of the biggest things. And as I said, I love love. I love romance. I've always gravitate towards romance as a genre in books, whether that be like just media in general. I'm a hopeless romantic. I want a connection and I want that deep intimacy with someone, but you don't really see the yearning or the intimacy played out not correctly, but as you would see it in day to day life, you don't really see that. It's because it's just you
Yeah.
meet, they're together, happily ever after. And it's boring, but with Ilya and Shane, we get to see, and one thing that I will always thank Jacob for is we get 9 years of them falling in love. and opening up to each other. And it's like episode 5 where Ilya's talking about his dad, which I have thoughts on that scene, as the girls know. But when they hold each other, and it's just, you don't see that raw emotion, like when Ilya starts crying, and and then Shane's just like, hey, it's okay. And it's not, that's why episode 5 is so important to me, because yes, there may be sex scenes in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, but 5 is centered around the emotion. And that's probably the episode I connect the most with, because I want that. I want to find someone to have that, that connection with. Like, sex is great. Who doesn't love sex? But I also want intimacy. I want companionship. And that's what this shows. And it's nice
Yeah.
to be able to see that on a show where I don't feel like what you were saying, Alessandra, where they're not like plastic people. It's not just like some skinny itty bitty person and like this. I mean, don't get me wrong, the boys have great bodies, but like some jacked up Ken doll. And it's just, I don't relate to this. I'm a bigger girl. I'm from Croydon. Don't know if that's, I don't really care. But you don't see a lot of that depicted in the day and age unless you're watching like Top Boy. And I'm sorry, but that's that's not my life. I don't relate. Um, and
Can
then
I? Oh,
no, 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 go, 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 go.
well, just because going off of what you said about that scene in episode 5, I think that for me, like, that's one of the biggest reasons that this show has hit so much is because I didn't become obsessed with it until after episode 5. And it was really that scene and seeing what I'm labeling non-toxic masculinity in full
Yes.
Yeah.
display. Like, it was just such a breath of fresh air to see that because we don't get to see men communicate. We don't get to see them cry. We don't get them to see comforting someone in an honest way. I think that I mean, Connor and Hudson have played it so beautifully, but like the show
Yeah.
is hyper masculine in some ways, right? Like they're
Yeah.
hockey players, they're at the top of their league, they're always working out. Like there's a lot of they're very strong and they're very capable, these characters, but there's no misogyny present. There's no need to bring in all of those toxic masculine traits that like we're all too familiar with. And I just think that the rarity of that was what was so intoxicating for me. And I think psychologists are calling it, have you guys seen this? An emotionally corrected experience. So they're saying
Yeah.
like the one of the reasons that we are like obsessed and rewatching it so much is that it's like we have not gotten to see this in real life. Like we're not getting this from the NHL or any league of sports, especially in North America. I won't speak
Yeah.
for Europeans, but like we're not getting that from like
I
our
mean,
we're not getting that from like our parents' generation, like the boomers and all of that. Like we're not getting this maybe from the men in our own lives. And so to see it played out on screen in such a delicate way, yeah, I think that I do have thoughts about the scene as well, Ellie, but for the most part, it was perfect.
It
no,
was.
absolutely. I agree. I think it's just nice to see that, you know, in a way, like men can also be like that. Because it's like not something that it's been allowed to be shown on television because, it's usually, as you were saying, Ellie, kind of the box of the women being the emotional people and struggling with some internal conflict, and the man is just kind of there. And, that isn't really doing much in terms of, me being attached to a character because they're
Yeah,
just kind of there. But seeing these people go through, emotion, like a more kind of nuanced way of existing and kind of
exactly. Yeah.
expressing their emotions. I think it's really, really nice and refreshing to see that in television.
Yeah, absolutely. We have like 10 minutes left. So
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
I'm going to stop mine. I just wanted to give a shout out to Hudson and Connor for being authentically themselves. That's what Alessandra was touching on earlier. I love them. They're making me embrace who I am, but I've spoken about that in other pods, so that's fine. So I'm going to let other people talk now.
Okay, AJ, you go ahead. I have a couple more, but I'll see if I can weave them in. I want you to have time.
No, that's fine. Mine will probably take longer than 10 minutes, so you go ahead and then maybe I'll try and squeeze myself into part two.
Okay. Um, so I think that I have to say that just like as an American, this show has come at like a very important time in the world. You know, America is going through a sort of like a cultural regression right now. The pendulum has really swung in the other direction, and this series is out of Canada. You know, we don't have to worry about America as tainting any part of this. And I think that for me, it's just really given me hope that there are other cultural touchstones that will continue this like progressive idea and that these concepts that we as millennials and younger people don't struggle with. Like this is where we're at. And we aren't getting that from like, sorry, but these old executives who are refusing to greenlight real stories and needing these, like I said, like insurance policies about, well, who are you attaching to this project? Do they have 20 other movies that you can say have made money? And for me, like that's just a big part of it is that this present moment we I think as women especially, but in general we were just hungry for, like I said, that display of masculinity, but for honesty, communication, vulnerability, things that we are not getting from our leaders anymore. Like Obama is no longer president. When we have a school shooting, we don't get tears, we don't get any real, yes, so sad, we don't get any real emotion. We are in a very different moment, and it's kind of it's heartbreaking to be an American and to watch what's happened to my country over the past 10 years. But to see this show, it gives me hope again that there are other countries, other societies that are not going to follow us down this
Yeah.
terrible rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was another point I wanted to touch on. It's just I think we've all spoken about this openly together and in our group chat, but I don't think any of us had a really great 2025
Yeah.
towards like the end of the year, or even just in general. I know that the end of my 2025 was horrific. And I didn't plan on watching Heated Rivalry week by week. I just planned on binging it because I didn't think it would obviously have the impact that it's had on me. And then I started watching it week by week, and it was it's going to sound so dramatic, but it was the one shining light. It was a Friday at 2 o'clock on my lunch when I knew I'm going to get 45 minutes to 55 minutes of just pure joy, and I can just put everything else away. And it was just the one thing that I can focus on, be happy about, and look forward to when you don't have much else going. And it was just, yeah. And it's also, we've spoken about this before, but it's opened me up to new people. It's opened me up to being more of myself. And it's amazing that a show can do that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AJ, we have 5 minutes. I know you said it's going to take a while, but do you want to give us a sneak preview and want to give us a couple nuggets?
No, I did want to like touch on some things that everyone else has said though, because I agree with everything that was said, and you all said it in a really great way. One thing that I did want to kind of touch back on was Alessandra earlier and the depiction of queer young adults. And I just think it's really interesting when you were talking about that, because then I just kind of realized that from when we see Shane and Ilya go through their whole story, is that I'm kind of at the beginning of their relationship, and then you're at the stage where you're kind of at the end of it. And the
Yeah.
way that we can like both relate to it in different ways, but also in similar reasons as well, it's just really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so interesting. That's so cool because you say, when you have people grow within the story, then there's people that can relate to different bits of their story. And I think that's really cool. And it definitely is doing a lot more than just, 3 seasons of someone being in high school.
Oh my God.
Definitely.
And that idea of like, how do we keep them here? Maybe we'll fail one of the
Yeah.
characters or we'll
Yeah.
find a way to, that is, I can't stand it. And the way that Jacob has been able to pace the show, I mean, it was so brilliant. I think that
Yeah.
we all have talked about that. Like, um, that the montages and the way he was able to move the story forward without losing. I mean, to be honest, the first time I watched it, I was not really fully aware of the timeline. But when you go back
Well,
and watch it and
Yeah.
you start to
let's expose
realize,
Angela. She's not here now, but Angela didn't realize.
Alessandra, no.
Angela was like very unaware of the timeline until yesterday when we were
Oh
rewatching
my
together.
goodness.
Guys, okay, well, she said it, so I'm gonna. Okay, Angela, I tried. But yesterday we were reheating, and she didn't know that they didn't hook up for that 2 years that they were just texting. Like she thought, like
What?
lonely. What's a girl to do in
No.
Montreal? Like what's a lonely girl to do? She thought like they hooked up that night. She didn't know that he was just
No.
playing hard to get. Like I
And
don't
she
know.
got so excited when she
Yeah,
found
and then
out.
everything that happened afterwards, she's like, oh my God, it makes so much more sense. Like
She needs to
all of
rewatch again. She needs another reheat.
I mean, yes, but
Yeah.
I think I was not going to call her out and do her dirty like that, but because Alessandra's her good friend and has known her a lot longer, I'm like, okay, we can go for it. But I think that I mean, regardless of whether or not you got the timeline and like the specifics of their hookups, you understood that it was over many, many years, right? Like that these
Yeah.
characters
Yeah.
started as
Yeah.
rookies. This is my cat, and they started as rookies, and then they ended as, like in the prime of their career. These are men who are
Yeah.
capable and
Yeah.
millionaires and understand how to play this game, captains of their team. I
Yeah.
think it's cool to hear AJ say that she is relating to them in the beginning because I'm certainly not. As a 33-year-old woman, I don't think about the beginning time as much as being like something that resonates with me. But certainly where they end up when they're at the cottage is where I feel that we
Yeah,
are.
same.
So,
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I love
but
our resident rookie reminding us.
Oh,
That
yeah,
she's
yeah.
a baby.
because because where they start at the beginning is like where I am at that stage in life, and like you said, like queer media has been a lot more prevalent in the past few years, so that's what I've been watching. But they usually are in high school, and now I'm aged out of that, so it's nice that there is something for after, and that's where I'm at now,
Yeah.
and I get to grow alongside that.
Wow, I'm so
Absolutely.
jealous.
I don't.
Same.
I mean,
Oh,
I love the queer media that I grew up with, but like Rent, it was about the AIDS crisis, like
yeah.
it was an incredible show. I will always love that show so much. But again, it's just a different time. It was a different time in the
Yeah.
world, and now we don't have we have a cure. You don't have to die from AIDS. Like medically, we have advanced. So like, thank you,
Yeah.
scientists and doctors. That's amazing. But yeah, I think millennials and Gen Z have been here for a while, waiting for something like this.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen any of the things that you've referenced.
Well,
That's
Like not
that's
a
what
okay.
the
one.
rookie,
So I'm
the
doing your
resident.
That's
list.
fine.
AJ, you're playing catch up. It's fine. We'll send a list. We'll get that
Thank you.
That's not
Be
happening.
prepared to like feel the dread
Yes.
of
Okay.
like queer media in the 90s.
And the
That's what we're
early
here for.
2000s. It wasn't great.
525,600. Have you seen now like millennials that have kids are like, I'm just waiting for my kid to ask me how many minutes are in a year so I can have my moment. Okay, we're gonna lose the stream because we don't pay for it yet because we're just like seeing what's happening.
Yeah.
And
Because
also
we're
we like the
poor.
40-minute framework, but we are gonna tap out. So thank you so
And
much.
this is the end of part one.
We're gonna
Yeah.
stitch in
Yeah.
part two.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
See you then.
Fine. Thank
See you
you.
Love
later.
ya.
The
The
sound is
fab
included in the
Included in the
Everybody, welcome to part two. If you guys obviously saw the beginning of this video, we kind of wanted to get everyone's opinion this week on our topic because we thought it was really important. So we had to split it up into two. So we've got the last three participants. AJ is also joining us because you didn't get in your points in the last part, right?
No, I didn't get any in, but
Perfect.
now you just get all of me.
Yeah, now we get so much AJ. We're not gonna know what to do with it.
We're so
Well,
fucking lucky.
Yep.
everyone
Thanks.
wants me to
Very
know.
right at the first second. So you
So this
get
week's topic, if you guys heard, obviously Danielle probably explained it in the first part a little bit better than I'm going to, but we are doing the cultural impacts of this show and why it was turned into such a cultural phenomenon. And I think we should just get straight into it because we got 40 minutes. And
we
if
have a lot
you
to
didn't
say.
know, the three of us love to yap. So,
Yes.
Oh, I
let's
think they know from before.
yes, they definitely do. We all love to yap.
We just all love to yap.
Yeah, if you couldn't tell the last part of our last podcast that we posted about Rachel Reed, we did get cut off at the end because
Yeah.
we yapped so much.
I mean, we do
That
have
was
like
all of us.
7-hour calls, so
Yeah, it's very,
on a
very, very hard to
regular
get.
basis.
Very
Okay,
hard to
you
get
guys
everyone's
want to
point
start?
across. Okay, so do we want to? I guess we'll just dive right in. Does anyone want to
Yeah.
start with their first
Yeah.
point, and we'll kind of just go from there?
If neither of you want to start, I will because yeah.
Yeah,
Go
you
right
go.
ahead, AJ.
Okay, so hold on. I have so many tabs open.
My brain at all times.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Okay, so like the show on as a cultural phenomenon, obviously it's hit everyone really hard, just right in the feels is the way to phrase it, I suppose. Um, but for me, it wasn't culturally and personally was kind of tied both for me. I think my description's already out, but in case you didn't see it, I am basically your rookie of the year, your resident bisexual Asian. So
Yes, you
Mhm.
are.
if
Yes,
someone
you
was to
are.
ask me, do you like Heated Rivalry? Let me put it this way. I am a bisexual Asian. What do you think?
Exactly. Yes,
Hell
we
yeah. Hell yeah. Dropping facts.
do.
Yeah. So like earlier, we talked a lot about why it hit hard for like in terms of queer community. So we already talked a lot about that. So I'm going to focus more on like the cultural, ethnic, racial impact of it. And for me, it just a, a lot in recent years, we've been getting a lot more Asian representation. We've been getting a lot of more representation in terms of people of color. And this is all really great. We're all just representation is more visible and it makes people feel so much more seen. But for me
Mhm.
personally, Shane Hollander slash Hudson Williams, like,
Yes. Or
The
Prince
it,
of Asia.
the it boys, if you will.
yes,
Mhm.
of their respective fields. Yes,
Hmm.
definitely the It Boys. Like both of them, and I'm not saying this as they are separate people. One's a character, um,
Hmm.
but have both just made me feel really seen in terms of the Asian representation. Is there have been many other Asian representations, but this is the one that I feel most connected to because it's the one most like my own. So it's just in the show, you can see so many moments where there's an emphasis on Shane's Asian origins. Like everyone knows about like the shoes and everything, but then some other more mundane ones, like the questions he gets asked on the interview being compared to other players. And there's this one really specific scene. It's in episode 1 where he's having a conversation with Yuna. You probably remember it better as the, are you going to wear your Reeboks? You have to wear your Reeboks.
Hmm.
Yes.
That
The
conversation.
Reeboks that he never wears.
Yeah. No, but what I remember from that is Yuna saying to Shane, you have to remember like how important this is. There's going to be a lot of other kids looking up to you who don't see themselves in this position often.
Hmm.
And like part of me, like after seeing the whole show, after seeing the whole impact that the show has made, that Hudson Williams himself is making in the industry right now, I'm just like, is he also feeling that kind of pressure as well? Or like, is he looking at himself as a role model? Because I definitely do. Like, he's my role model. Yeah, they all are, but like, just
But yeah, you feel more connected to
I feel
Hudson
so
because of this. Yeah.
seen. And I'm just
Hmm.
like,
Mhm.
there is a place for us in the industry. Like, there's a place for people of my background in this industry. Like, he is the it boy right now. He's making his way through everything.
Yeah.
As of this moment right now, he actually, because they recorded theirs last week, we were recording ours on the Wednesday before the Oscars. He got invited to the Oscars, which just
Yeah.
shows how
It's
important he
insane.
is to the community right now and to Hollywood. And he also got a private plane to the Balenciaga show. So it shows
Yeah.
just how important he is and how much companies and people are recognizing that he is the it boy of the moment and he is important to people and people want to see him.
Yeah.
And I think that that's really cool for a person of color to
Yeah.
have
And they
this
just
moment.
posted Balenciaga like the post of all the photos they did um on the show.
Hmm.
The first picture is him. And then the rest is all the
Oh
other
my
people.
goodness.
And
Hmm.
it's like, you see, they know what we want to see.
Yes, they do. I'm gonna piggyback really quickly just off of
Okay.
AJ really quickly. Just going off of the people of color uh kind of topic. It's really important to see people of color in positions that you want to be in, or you never thought that there was a space for them. And I think
Mm.
just your comment about the one uh, scene in episode 1 where Yuna's talking about, oh, there's tons of kids that don't see themselves here often. I think also in hockey, you don't see black people that often. There are not a lot of black players in the NHL, and it definitely does stem from some more serious topics, which we're not gonna we're not gonna reach today. But
Yeah.
it is really important to see people of color in important positions. So I
Yes.
think that your feelings are 100% valid in the feeling that this was important because it showed
It
your
is.
culture and it showed you and you connected to it.
Yeah. And in terms of like, this is my kind of connection with it. Every single person has a different experience with their culture, I think, especially for every kid of m mixed heritage, they have different experiences within that. Not every mixed heritage person's experience is the same because like dynamics within family, with their parents' relationship with their own culture, it's all different. So for me, this was the kind of experience I related to the most because it emphasized like some moments on Shane's Asian origins, but in a way that was just like really mundane. It was woven just so subtly, but in a way that you can see it's there
Hmm.
and it's not glossed over. It's just every day, which is what people live. It's just every day.
Hmm.
Mm.
But there are other people who have like don't have quite that experience. For example, I know that we have a lot more Asian representation now. We have more Asian representation, especially in the recent years. And the thing that I've personally seen, I haven't seen a lot because I'm not online all the time, but from what I've seen online for Asian representation, a lot of the time people are unhappy that it's not as Asian dominant as they would like because mostly the characters are set in Western culture. A lot of the
Hmm.
time it's they live in America, they live in Western culture, in other Western people, around other white people. They're more, people might like to say they're more like whitewashed, which Asian people cannot be whitewashed. We're part white. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not possible to be whitewashed when that is quite literally part of your culture. Like
yeah,
you are half white. There is no way to
exactly.
whitewash someone who is white. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's very
Yeah.
hard to kind of describe someone as being whitewashed when that's what they are. Like they
Mhm.
are white. I think I'm
Yeah,
gonna
so yeah.
sorry,
So
AJ,
I've
did
just
you have
seen
another
that.
point?
No, I was just gonna finish that point. So like I've
Mhm.
just seen that like be criticized and it's like, but what do you expect when they're living in, they are white and they are living around white people in a white country. So I
Mhm.
don't know really what you want from them. So for me personally, for me to be able to connect more on a more, I would say more balanced, for me anyway, because more what I relate to with Shane's experience is just one of the first times that I felt very seen enough and very much for the far one of the first times in media representation secure enough that I am Asian enough. I'm not too
Mhm.
white or too Asian for anything. It's just for once I feel balanced.
And
So
this is
yeah,
why representation is important, people.
Mhm.
it's yeah, no.
Fucking hell.
I think I'm gonna segue us into our next topic. If you see me looking over here, it's because I have my iPad up just to kind of keep us within our notes, because we could go on for hours about different topics.
Exactly. We
I
need
could
to
go
keep
on
Um,
for
in
hours
mind.
about this one topic, but we're gonna move on
yeah.
to the next one.
There is a topic that me and AJ actually have in common because we kind of just wanted to make sure that we didn't overlap with too many things. And that's this story was not tragic. And I think as people of color and people who are in the queer community and people in marginalized communities, when our stories are told, there is always a tragic element to it. They
I
always try
know.
to dramatize the
Yeah.
the experience of being a marginalized person in a marginalized community, and this was so the opposite, especially when it
Hmm.
comes to queer and black
Yeah.
movies and everything. They always want to add a tragic element. They're always like, oh, well, this happened and this happened. When in reality, yes, those things do happen, but a lot of people live a normal life where those tragedies are not the be all end all of what's happening. Like, I'm not going to sit here and um, kind of take away from people who do live those tragic stories, but it's so important to see people living positive lives and getting the right representation. So this story was just pure joy. And I think
Yes.
Jacob said it best, like that's what he wanted it to be. He didn't
Hmm.
want tragedy. He didn't want,
No.
oh, they're fighting for something. He wanted this to be about queer joy, and that's truly what it was. And it was so amazing to watch something not end in a
Yes.
tragedy.
And also, I want to add, which kind of relates to like the points I want to make,
Mhm.
which is like, he's not really focusing on, I mean, obviously, yes, Shane has like his whole finding his own sexuality journey, but he's not really focused on that. He's just focused on two people who are attracted to each other. And there's these external things like it's forbidden because obviously they are rivals.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like the main thing. It's not really, oh, we are two men and we cannot really kiss each other. It's not about that. It's literally, it's just like, oh my god, we are so attracted to each other, and people will freak out if they find out that we compete against each other, but we're also having sex behind doors. And that also fuels the tension between them because it is kind of forbidden. So I think I find that so refreshing because you end up just forgetting that they are two men, that they are different races. Like you just it's just human experience. Just having sexual tension with someone, falling in love with someone, and that's just it. That's complicated enough. Like you don't have to add anything more to it.
Mhm.
So yeah, finish your
Yeah.
point, but it's like it is related. It's
Yeah.
just
Mhm. Just going off of what Angela said, I think
Mhm.
that your point is so valid in that it's just the human experience. And I think you also wanted to make points about the more sexual aspects of the show and
Yeah.
how that truly is just the human experience. So I'm going to let you take
Mhm.
that away and go into
No,
maybe one
okay.
of your points.
I just feel like for me, what impacted me the most, like what I said about sexual tension, um, it just is so well portrayed. Like, um, wait, I'm reading my notes. Because, okay, so it's like sexual tension only happens when it's reciprocated. It's like when you're attracted to someone and obviously that person is attracted to you too. But then there is some external factors that doesn't let you guys kind of be together. So that's when the tension grows. And and obviously like you cannot stop thinking about the other person um and the attraction that you feel towards them. And I just felt like when I saw the first episode, like how Jacob Tierney portrayed the sexual tension, like, for example, like the gym scene, like the camera, it's pointing to like just here of
Hmm.
Ilya, it's just the neck, the breathing, the sweat, the everything. And it's like we are seeing it through Shane's eyes. And oh my God, I completely felt it because, as I don't know, as a fangirl or as a girl or, I usually, when you're attracted to someone, you just look at that stuff. And I mean, I guess this book is written by a woman, and that is mentioned in the book, like how he notices this stuff about Ilya. But yeah, and then like kind of like at the draft party, like usually when there's this tension with someone, like you can feel them in the room, even though you haven't seen them yet. You don't know where they are, but you just feel that they are there, and then you look for them. And that's like when I saw Shane there at the draft party in the hotel, and then he just suddenly like everything goes away, and then he just like looks up, and Evie's already looking at him,
Yeah.
like he felt it, and that was so insane. And I saw a video recently of Jacob Teen in an interview, and he said that he filmed those scenes, and he kind of told them like, wait, I have it noted down.
I
I
think I
did
know
my
this one.
homework.
Mhm.
Yes, he was like, I want you to like, he's like, I wanted them to think that whenever they thought about those moments, about how they were drafted, how they did the commercial, and all that stuff, the only thing you remember is the other person.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
and literally the fact that, whenever you were in a scene, in a moment where you are not touching each other, it is a big, big effort from you not to touch the other person.
Mhm.
And I felt like that was amazingly done in this series,
Yeah,
because that's literally what I saw and what I felt.
mhm. The tension that was built throughout the show was absolutely phenomenal.
It
And
was.
I think it was built um through like even the camera work. The camera work was beautiful, the way that they chose to display everything. And
Hmm.
I'm gonna go off on a little tiny, tiny 10-second tangent here.
Let's
This
go.
would not
Hmm.
have been possible without the acting of Connor and Hudson because they
Of
were
course
the
not.
reason that you were getting that tension. Shane's face, the faces Hudson was
Yes.
choosing to use for Shane
Yes.
was so
Oh.
important. He portrayed him so perfectly and how he would look at Ilya and how his face would give him away because obviously Shane does not outwardly project a lot of things, but his
Hmm.
face and his eyes do all the talking.
His eyes and the eye
Mhm.
contact is just, I don't know. I was amazed by all that, and it really caught me off guard, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because you don't
seeing
normally
all
get
that.
this. You don't normally
No.
get this in a show.
No.
Like there obviously a lot of romance shows show the tension through more I guess cookie cutter kind of ways that would
Yeah.
fit a
Hmm.
romance, and this did the complete opposite. They let the body language do the talking, they let the eyes do the talking,
Yes.
they let the way that they chose to shoot the different
Yeah.
scenes did
Yes.
all of the talking and created all of the tension. And the music, I will shout out the music. Peter
Of
Peters
course.
did all of the who did the
Hmm.
score was absolutely phenomenal, and all of the songs you can now listen to the
Hmm.
songs and you can see the moment in your head and
You can see
Yeah.
literally the
you
scene.
can
Yes.
feel the tension in the songs that he chose
Hmm.
and the way that he wrote them. So everything about this,
Yeah.
the tension was
Yeah.
perfect.
I also wanted to
Yeah.
add, like, for example, like, because usually, like, when you have tension, there is tension because it's reciprocated, right? So,
Mhm.
um, even though you don't speak to the person about how you feel, about how you are attracted to the person, you obviously feel it. Like, you
Mhm.
both feel it. And I feel like that's why this shower scene is also so important, because, like, Shane is like looking at him and feels,
He's just
obviously he
staring.
forgets. Yeah, he
Mhm.
forgets that he's looking, but also feels like bold enough to do so, because I guess subconsciously he knows that Ilya won't mind, because obviously they're gonna look at each other. Ilya is also looking at him, and then Ilya, obviously he sees that Shane is getting
Yeah.
excited and makes that bold move of, like,
We
you
all
know
know.
what I
Yes,
mean.
we all know what
Yeah.
Yes,
happens in the
we all
shower
know we don't
scene.
want to
We
get
know.
shunned from YouTube, but like that is that is such an indicator of how well done the sexual tension is done,
Yeah.
because they obviously already felt it, and it was not a weird thing to do in the showers, because they already knew that something was going on.
Hmm.
And the fact that then Shane kind of tried to, like, get away from it, like, oh, we can forget about that, and Ilya was like, hell no, we
No.
No,
both
we
know
cannot.
there is something
Hmm.
going on
I
here.
know you don't want
Hmm.
to. Yeah, but
Exactly.
adding onto this, what you were saying earlier about body language, Dylan, I read this thing
Mhm.
about the success of Heated Rivalry is because they really did the show not tell. It was something along the lines of
Hmm.
Yes,
they
yes.
allowed the context and the subtext to speak for itself rather than pointing it out.
Yes.
Hmm.
everything. And I think there's an interview with Jacob saying that he didn't want to make it this whole big thing where they have dialogue about it. And
No.
I know both Rachel and Jacob have talked about it, how through like their relationship is mostly through the sex scenes that and the
Exactly.
sexual experiences that they have. They build this
Yeah.
relationship. And in those
Yeah.
sexual experiences, like you're not gonna have all this dialogue. They're not gonna sit there and talk about their
No.
feelings.
Yeah.
They're going to experience each other through their bodies and through these sexual experiences. So I think that's
Yeah.
really cool that
Yeah.
Jacob
Yeah.
recognizes that and was
hmm
able to do that.
And that actually goes to like my next point, which is like it's a very real and modern representation of a situationship.
Yes.
Like, because in a situationship, like it's literally like, well, first they is like sleeping with your crush, and there is just this fear that, I guess it's like at first it's just sex, but it's like obviously they develop feelings, but they don't want to communicate about it because that's, it's like, what if it stops?
And it makes it
Because right
real.
now I know, yeah, and also like, it is kind of like the thing that we have is kind of forbidden. And communicating about how I feel, it might go away. And also, but it's addictive because, I
Hmm.
know I shouldn't do it, but like I don't have these connections with anybody else, and I'm addicted to it. And I'm just gonna go again because, for example, like in the Vegas scene, like, you kind of feel bad for Shane. Although if you've read Ilya's point of view from
Hmm.
Rachel Reed's
Which we recommend reading.
blog,
100%
which we
recommend reading
recommend reading because you
all
can
of the short
understand
stories on her
Ilya's,
website.
yeah,
I
insane.
read them all in one day.
But it's
Me
like,
too.
when you watch the show, we see it from Shane's point of view, right?
Mm.
And he just goes like, and then the scene of we didn't even kiss, that crushed me because
Killed
that
me.
is such a good representation of being in a situation where you are catching feelings and you cannot actually say them out loud. Like you cannot even accept them or communicate them to
Hmm.
the person, because they might go away, and then feeling kind of shame. It's brilliant. And I don't know if guys have something to add there, but like I wanted to finish with like this show feels refreshing because there is a happy ending on a years long situationship, which
Hmm.
is a fantasy. Usually
Yeah.
situationships don't end well.
I was gonna
And
say
I feel like
we do not endorse if you are in an 8-year situationship,
in
this
a
does not mean that this is
yes,
gonna end the same way.
don't
This is fiction.
No.
communicate your feelings, and if they're not on the same boat as you,
You run.
go away. Just there will be something better out there.
They're
Hmm.
not all the same.
But
Situationships are situational.
Yes.
exactly. So it's kind of like, there's this fantasy because I guess we've all been there wishing that this person has the same feelings for you or whatever.
Hmm.
And then they have their happy ending and it's cathartic. And
Hmm.
it's just, that's what like, oh my God, it's
Yeah.
just crushing my potato. That's, that's my conclusion.
We
They
love
crushed my
we loved that.
potato.
Wait.
Just
Oh,
oh
well,
Oh.
yeah.
I'll say it
No,
later.
Angela,
I'll
go.
say it later.
Finish
It's
your
just I
point.
read one note and I want to say, I also like the fact that the sex is not perfect. It's
Yes.
literally
It's
Yeah.
real.
awkward.
It's
It's
real.
real. Sex is not meant to go all flowing and amazing and like
Nope.
fireworks all from this. Like Shane is so awkward and nervous at first, and they just lay down on the bed, they don't know what to do, and then they just in the end they just follow what they want to do because they
Hmm.
cannot get their hands off each other or whatever. But that slowly kind of evolves around the TV show, like they get more confident about their hookups and what they do and all that stuff. But it was just so nice to see awkward sex because it's real. Like
Hmm.
you take off your clothes. Also, Shane's kind of insecurity, like when he gets naked the first time and he kind of like just stands in front of Ilya and he's like, he looks down and is like, okay. It's just like, oh my God, I'm
Oh.
gonna eat you. It's so cute. It's so cute because I mean, sleeping with a crush is just nerve-wracking.
Hmm.
And I think we can all kind of like feel identified with that at some point.
Yeah.
That's it.
Um, now going based off of that point, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit maybe throughout your points, but it's what I wanted to say about it was there's a lot people are going to ask, and they have been asking because that's been the biggest question, is why do women enjoy this story?
Oh,
And I'm going to touch on that a little bit because I think
yes.
they said
Okay.
they didn't touch on it in the last one, but we are
Mm-hmm.
going to touch on it a little bit here. Um
Mm-hmm.
I'm a hopeless romantic. I read romance books.
Yes.
That's what I do. That is my
Yeah.
thing. That is what I love. And in straight heterosexual romance books, you almost have to insert yourself as the woman in the story, and it's
Mm-hmm.
so
It's the
hard
default
to,
choice.
yeah, it's the default
Yeah.
choice because obviously you are the women in the situation.
Yeah.
Um, and it can be really hard to fully experience the love and affection that you're getting in this book because you're having to insert yourself into a role. You're not getting to just
Yeah.
experience it as at its whole. You're having to experience
Mm-hmm.
it through the lens of the woman who is in the story. And I
Yeah.
think that being able to experience all of this love and affection and this joy that they're feeling and all these emotions without having to insert yourself into it is so important because I
So
don't think you need to be
refreshing.
like,
Yes.
"Oh, I'm gonna look through Shane's lens." No, I don't want to look through Shane's lens. I am
No.
simply a spectator into a love story, and
Yeah.
it truly is just it's just important. You just get to
It's,
Yeah.
experience
yeah.
the love.
The lack of
Mm-hmm.
gender
Which
roles
is,
just
yeah.
Yes, that.
Yeah. Which is what we said before. It's just a human experience.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. Like
yeah.
everybody kind of feels attraction towards people, falls in love. We've all kind of like lived these experiences, and we can emphasize, like emphasize, no, empathize.
Empathize.
Well,
Yeah, we could.
Yes.
empathize, no, empathize with the characters
Hmm.
because it's just human feelings and human connections,
Yep.
and so nice.
I think if everyone's done with their points, I think I'm looking at our notes and I think we're getting down to the end and we're also getting down
Yeah.
to the end of our time.
I was just going to add
Mm-hmm.
one more thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
go
You
go
ahead,
on.
said
Adrian.
earlier, like, we just love this because, like, we're hopeless romantics. I have never understood that term, hopeless romantic, because what do you mean hopeless? Like, we're romantics.
I
We're just
think
full of love and hope and just wanting and yearning. If anything, I think it's hopeful romantics, which is exactly what the show has given all of us. It's given us
Mm-hmm.
hope. The
Mm-hmm.
cast, the crew, the creators, the actors, everyone, and the story itself and the representations, it's just given us hope. So I just think
hmm
we're all hopeful romantics. And it's given us
there you
sunshine.
go.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And everyone
there
deserves
you go.
sunshine.
Yes.
Everyone deserves sunshine.
Shout out Elena. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that actually perfectly kind of segues me into the last point that I had to make because I think we've all, and this also takes us into the last part of our little episode here. Um, this show to me as a Canadian and as someone who, yeah, we kind of get we obviously you get the Canadian experience through some movies and TV shows, and there's tons of TV shows, especially ones made specifically by Jacob Tierney himself. Shout out Shoresy and Letterkenny. Phenomenal shows. Go watch them.
Okay.
Um, yeah, Canada doesn't get the credit that it should when it comes to movies and TV shows because everything's made in Hollywood. Everything's been touched by
Mm.
American executives and people who are kind of jaded in Hollywood. And this show showed that things can be made on a small budget. Jacob Tierney did not have a
Yes,
large budget for this show.
and be
They
even
barely
better.
yeah, they
Yeah.
barely had extras. They couldn't fill the airport. If you saw that one interview with Connor and Hudson where they had
Storm
like
the set.
storm the set. Like they had no one in the airport. They had no one in the stands. Fun fact, those shots were
Yeah,
filmed with no one in the stands. There was no
but
one
it's
in
like
the arena.
that allows like a lot of space for creativity,
Hmm.
having low budget. It's just you just need to be creative. Like for example,
Yeah.
the conference scene, you don't see anybody asking, you don't see any cameras, you
But
just
you
see
feel it.
them.
Yeah.
You
And
feel the
you feel it.
energy.
You feel that they're on the spotlight, that there's a lot of reporters before that
Hmm.
seat. Like it's kind of like making a reference, I guess, to like theater, for example. I've done theater, and usually you just have to use your imagination and
Hmm.
just let the audience imagine what that chair is. And
Yeah.
that's it. And
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
don't put a chair. Doesn't matter.
And
Like,
this show looked
sorry.
like it was shot on a $50 million budget. Like it looks like it was shot so beautifully with what they
Mm,
had. And there's a lot of people who have been, if you go and look on TikTok, there's a ton of people who have analyzed everything that goes on with
yeah.
the production and all
I
of the
love those
cameras and
videos.
everything. Those videos are so good. There's a couple really good creators. Not off the top of my head, I can't think of their names specifically, but you can find a lot of good creators who talk about it. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna go off of that point by also saying Jacob Tierney and the entire cast have have said that this show could have only been made in Canada. And there are definitely more serious topics that need to push off of that, but I'm not going to get into that because I just want to celebrate the fact that Canada
Yes.
produced something that
Yeah.
has taken over the world, and that's really important to me. And
Yes.
it really shows that Canada's in the right place, and the taxpayer dollars, my money went towards it, and I'm very happy about that. My money can go to
Yes.
any
We
form
thank
of
you for your
joy,
service.
any form of
We thank you.
joy,
Yes.
and everything that this show has given us. Um,
I'm so happy they didn't go with the. I can't remember. Like, I think did
yeah,
they go to Hollywood to like present the
they
idea or
went to
something?
Yeah.
American executives
And
and
they said, "Oh, there won't be no kissing until episode 5."
exactly,
And
and they were
Jacob
like,
was like,
No.
"No,
no.
I'm so happy. Thank you so much. You didn't follow, and we are giving you back all your hard work.
Hmm.
Making
And
you the biggest show in history right now,
mhm.
and
Yeah,
winning awards, everything. Whatever, take my money.
all my
Take
money,
it.
take all of it at this point,
All
Yeah.
my
all my
money,
taxes.
all my passions, everything."
No, literally, it's yeah, it showed. You know what? Canada's pretty cool. And if you get a chance to go visit Canada, definitely do. The people are great. And
I
this
would
kind of
love to
takes us
go now. I
I
never
mean,
knew
Dylan's from
anything
there, so
about
yes,
Canada
people are
until
great.
now.
this takes us into the last part of our podcast because this week's thank you is Jacob Tierney himself. And
Well, I think we've done pretty much
yeah, I
thanking
think
the
we
whole
sang a
podcast.
lot of praises for
Yeah.
Jacob Tierney, and I could talk about him all day long. And
The
Jacob
King of
Tierney, we
Sunshine.
trust. Yes, thank you for the sunshine. And I guess AJ, do you
Thank
want
you
to
for respecting the books as well.
Yes,
And
the source
even
material.
some
Yes.
dialogues, I think they were even better written, like that
Yeah.
fitted well with the
The
tension
whole
and all that
Shane
stuff
and Una scene in episode 6.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
goodness.
If I could thank him personally for that scene, that's what was
for that
missing.
scene.
That's what was missing. You didn't get a moment between
Yes.
Jade and Yuna in the book when all of this happens, and giving him that moment was so important because Yuna's so important to him. Like that's his mom. That's like his best friend. She takes
And it
care
was
of
such,
him.
yeah, yeah. And it was such a, mm, like an important moment for the queer community. Like I
Hmm.
cried as
I
a
cried
It
bisexual
too.
was,
myself who had that kind of conversation with my mom. Um,
I rewatched that
that
scene.
was so touching. That was so like, some people might not have support in their families, and
Yeah,
that scene kind of, it heals you. It's
it
Yeah.
really
like,
does.
fuck, I wished I heard that from my family members. Um,
I think we
I
went
did
off.
have support, just to clarify, but I know some people don't. And it still made me emotional.
Hmm. I
Yeah.
think
So
we are going off on a little bit of a tangent here. We're gonna
Oops.
wrap
I
up just
know
My
saying
we
bad.
can jump,
no,
we can
just
jump for
saying
hours.
we genuinely could talk for hours about how much
Yeah.
Jacob Tierney means to us and how much
And
how
we do in
Hmm.
much
general.
yes. how much joy he brings and how much joy he has brought to all of us through his
Yes.
wonderful adaptation of these books that are really important to a huge community as
Hmm.
well.
Yes.
Thank you for being
And we can
canon
wait. Yeah, we can wait for season 2.
in
I
Jacob We
heard he's
Trust.
working hard in Jacob We Trust.
We do trust.
Yes, I would trust that
And
man.
I
I
know
trust that
he's gonna do
notebook.
amazing.
But yeah, I just thank you for showing that Canada's pretty cool and that you're willing
Yeah.
and that he is willing to keep things in Canada to tell the stories and to
And
kind
to
of
bring new
protect.
actors as well, new
Exactly.
faces.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing us
I
Hudson and Connor.
thank you for
Yes.
bringing us Hudson and Connor.
But yeah, thank you to Jacob Tierney for everything that he has done, and we trust you with our lives, and we cannot wait to
Yes.
see what season 2 brings. And
Let's see Troy.
yes, please bring us Troy.
Oh my goodness.
And this is what happens when you leave the three of us alone.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
gonna we're gonna calm
We
down
had
now.
technical
We will calm down.
Yeah,
difficulties.
sorry for the
Everything
technical
was.
difficulties. Angela had to switch over to her phone, but we hope you guys all
And then
enjoyed.
AJ couldn't hear.
Oh my goodness.
We
Sorry.
hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It is a little bit
Yes.
longer,
We
so
love
people
you.
were asking for a little bit longer of us. So
I
here
mean,
you go.
why not?
You got about a little bit over an hour of us just yapping. So we're
Really?
gonna say bye now,
Oh yeah. Okay.
and
Bye
we
bye.
will see you guys in the next episode.
Goodbye.